Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the PETHS Alumni Network podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and today I'm joined by none other than Mr. Justin Cheung. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, so to give a little bit of background, Justin graduated in 2015 from PET, and then he then went on to study kinesiology and concurrent education at York University. And now he's teaching at Markville Secondary School, as well as an athlete on the Toronto Rush Ultimate Frisbee team. Did I get all that right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly correct, man.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, you're the first, professional athlete we've had on this podcast. So obviously we wanted to get you on, kind of share those experiences. We'll kind of hop into it. Like, what were some decisions that kind of made you want to become a teacher in the first place?
Ooh, well, if you don't mind, I'll start off from when I was younger. My
Hmm.
parents are in healthcare. They're both pharmacists, so I really thought I was going down that route
Hmm.
to start, and they never really pushed me to do anything that that I didn't want, but I could tell they kind of wanted me to go into pharmacy, but they're always like pursue your passions, do something you love, right? Um, and I really thought I was going that route, but then I started volunteering at summer camps and things like that. And I realized that I was pretty good with young children,
Hmm.
and I I enjoyed it. Like I had a lot of fun. And my mom always told me, like when you do something fun for work, it doesn't feel like work.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that stuck with me. And then I did more and more every summer. I did like different sports programs and things, and I realized like I wanted to be a teacher around grade 10, between grade 10 and 11.
Right.
That's how it
Yeah.
started.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, like I just looked more into it from that point on. But that was how it got started from volunteering and uh and different programs.
Right. And then I'm kind of curious, how did you kind of narrow it down between, like, for example, like elementary school versus like secondary school?
Oh yeah. I also doing the camps.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Young kids are exhausting, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I very early,
Yeah.
very early on,
Uh-huh.
realized like I don't want to teach kindergarten
Right.
things because
Hmm.
um like you're just babysitting. I feel like
Right.
it didn't speak to me,
Hmm.
and then I thought for the longest time I wanted to be a grade like 4, 5, 6 teacher because
Hmm.
that was a fun group.
Right.
But then I also realized after I helped out at a camp where they were grade 7, 8 at like a life skills camp. It was like cool to have these conversations with like older kids, and that was
Hmm.
way more fulfilling than like
Right.
all the super fun stuff with the younger kids. And I just basically creeped upwards and
Hmm.
upwards
Yeah.
until I realized like I think high school is
Hmm.
where it's at, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and I personally had a really good time in high school.
Hmm.
Pet was really good to me, and I remember having teachers that inspired me um and were really good role models. So that
Hmm.
definitely pushed me in that direction as well.
Yeah. Well, you kind of touched on it briefly. What are some experiences in high school that stand out to you right now?
Well, number one is playing sports. Playing
Hmm.
sports was like first and foremost. Some of the most some of the most memorable experiences, like playing on the volleyball team,
Hmm.
playing ultimate frisbee, played basketball in grade 9, and like there's some core memories with teams that like you'll just never forget.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
played at school too, right?
Hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
you just can't get those experiences anywhere else. Like
Exactly.
the friends you make that aren't just from your class, right? Like
Hmm.
these are teammates that you fought alongside with, and you go on bus trips with, and you sit in the
Yeah.
taxi rides with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are all real good memories.
Hmm.
And then obviously the coaching that comes along with it, right? Like um like the little things that they teach you about being athletes that
Hmm.
also translate into like life um
Right.
life skills
Hmm.
and life lessons. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
do you have anything memorable from any one of your coaches that you're like, oh, that stuck with me for like I remember that.
Yeah, I'll give a quick example. I remember one time we forgot to clean up the nets after the volleyball nets after a home game, and our coaches like ripped into us the next day about, like taking responsibility and taking initiative. And going up, not even above and beyond, just doing honestly like the doing what's expected of you, and like kind of like housekeeping as if it was your own house, like you take pride in how you like leave things and how you present things. I think that's really important to me, and it stuck out to me for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that sticks with you, right?
yeah. And you kind
Um,
of touched on it briefly. You've obviously always been, into sports. Did it kind of make the most sense for you to pursue kinesiology? Like, was there ever any, doubts about that, or did you just know you always wanted to do kin?
um, it's a great question. I feel like it's just a natural choice when it came around, and I knew by that time I loved coaching. I loved being active. I knew I wanted to be a phys ed teacher, so kin was like the natural choice. It wasn't like I chose. I was really passionate about kin. It was just the path to becoming a phys ed teacher.
Hmm.
Um, but I ended up really enjoying the program at York as well. It
Hmm.
was a good time.
Were there any other schools you were looking at, or was it York all the way?
So when I was looking at schools, it was between Queens because they had a concurrent education program, but they didn't have a kin program.
Hmm.
You couldn't do phys ed there. It was just science, math, or English or and other things,
Hmm.
but not phys ed. And then I had Brock as well on the option. And then I was looking at McMaster kin. I ended up getting into all of them,
Hmm.
but York was the only one that like actually had the criteria I was looking for, which was
Right.
like kin and concurrent, right? McMaster would have been a cool school to go to. I kind of
Yeah.
wish I went. Like a lot of
Yeah.
friends went to McMaster,
Hmm.
but yeah, like I stayed at home and I did kin and concurrent.
Right. Do you see yourself, like, I don't know how it works, but do you see yourself kind of branching out into, other subjects? Like, are you allowed to do that? I don't know how it works.
Yeah, that's a great question. When as a high school teacher,
Yeah.
you need two teachables, so two things
Hmm.
that you're qualified to teach. And through my kin degree, I was able to get the qualifications for phys ed and science. Like there's enough
Hmm.
sciencey courses in there that gave me the qualifications for both. And it's
Hmm.
just the amount of credits that you have in
Right.
each discipline. So if I took more math courses, I could it could be math or geography or so forth, right?
Hmm.
And then after you graduate, you can take something called an AQ, like an additional qualification,
Hmm.
and just they're just like one-off courses that give you basic skills and gives you the certificate to be able to teach that course. So then I went ahead and I got my math qualification after. So
Nice.
I'm currently
Yeah.
qualified for three things.
Do you see yourself kind of, stepping into that role? Is that something you want to do?
I have.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had to think about that. I already did,
Yeah.
but phys ed is where I want to be. So I'm
Right. Okay.
very grateful that I I ended up getting a phys ed job, but
Hmm.
that's not how I started. Like I started off
Right.
applying for I started applying off for a job that was math and phys ed,
Hmm.
and that was my foot in the door because
Right.
if I didn't have that math qualification, I wouldn't have been able
Hmm.
to get that first job,
Right.
right?
Right. So
And
I think
then
that, yeah. Sorry, I think that speaks volumes about, being versatile and, being, kind of like a jack of all trades. It makes you like valuable, right?
absolutely. Like, um, yeah, like having a broad skill set was really
Hmm.
important, and math being always in need. Like
Hmm.
if you're looking to be a teacher, like things they're always looking for because you have to take math for so many years, right? Like
Hmm.
math is an important one. Like they're always looking for English teachers, business teachers are pretty short. Like, I mean, and that makes sense. Like if you're in business and you're making tons of money.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be why would you want to be a teacher? I'm gonna be honest, but
Yeah. That's fair.
people I guess end up loving teaching, right? More than
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
than the corporate world. Just
for
depends
sure. Yeah.
on where you fall.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that is something that I think is also not very talked about, is that, it's not always about, how much money you make. It's about, being fulfilled in what you do. And sometimes people kind of just look at how much you make and they think that'll make you happy at the end of the day. But I think, for example, I think yesterday I had on Edward, and he was talking about Mr. Shields.
Okay, I
Um,
remember that guy.
yeah, and he was very qualified in the business world, but I think Edward was telling me that, he wanted to teach, and I think that can bring a lot of joy to people, seeing that and not necessarily being in a position in the corporate world that might be a little bit cutthroat, for example.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I'm thankful for that every day.
Yeah.
I was just talking with friends during Thanksgiving, and we are like doing the corny, let everybody go around the table and
Mhm.
share something you're thankful for, right?
Mhm.
And something that came to mind really immediately was I'm thankful for a job that I show up to every day and I feel
Mhm.
like genuinely fulfilled. I feel
Yeah.
like what I do has value,
Mhm.
not just to me, but to the people around me, like to my coworkers and to
Mhm.
my students, as well as like and that makes me like happy and competent,
Mhm.
right? And
Right.
I show up to work feeling like good about myself, and I leave work
Right.
feeling good about myself, no matter
Mhm.
how exhausted I might be,
Yeah.
and like I get paid in that job satisfaction.
Mhm.
And that's the biggest thing. I think you hit
Yeah.
it right, the nail right on the head, right?
Mhm. Do you have a specific teacher you want to shout out as a role model, as someone who has, helped you along the way?
I Yeah, there's one that um sorry, first of all, there's a lot of teachers at Pet that stood out to me. Like Miss Shin I was close with as my volleyball coach. Miss Tang was my biology teacher. She was
Mhm.
really fun to be around. Um, Miss Kelly, I had food and nutrition with. She made that class really fun. But who I actually remember like learning the most from was Mr. Shin. He's not at Pet anymore, but
Mhm.
and he's at Bill Hogarth, but he was the ultimate frisbee coach. And what he uh, he I feel like was what I strive to be most like as a teacher. He had a good balance of being authoritative when he needed to be, but then he gave us a lot of opportunities to run the team as leaders, right?
Mhm.
Um, and he was able to admit when he didn't know that much about the sport and let the people who were experts kind of run drills or like plan the game plan and things like that. And so we had a good
Right.
balance as leaders of the team, but working
Mhm.
together with the coach. And that was a that was a really fun time
Yeah.
in high school.
Right. I think you hit it right on the head, as you said, like, knowing when to adapt to different leadership styles. And I think that's important for just about anything in life, being a leader and, delegating to other people and being vulnerable when you don't necessarily know the answer, right? Yeah, can you kind of talk us through how exactly you landed at Markville? Because obviously we're kind of like rival schools. How did you end up there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think about that all the time.
Hmm.
I'm a trader now, and
Yeah.
all the people that I'm connected with, so that are alumni at Pet, were like,
Yeah.
we laugh about it that I've
Uh-huh.
gone to join the enemy,
Hmm.
but I'm embracing it for sure.
Yeah.
The Yeah, I was gonna say my career started out like I want to say the stars aligned, but oh, sorry. First of all, like this is an aside. Do you mind? Does it matter if this is a long story, or would
Go
you
ahead. Go
want to
ahead.
keep it
We
short?
want to hear it all. We want to hear it all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the it's always I strongly believe your opportunities are a mixture of you have luck, but you create your own luck with the hard work and with the
Hmm.
connections that you make, right? And so before the pandemic, I was a student teacher at Markville, and I feel like I did a really good job there. I made an impact. I was involved. I went above and beyond. I even when there weren't things to do, I tried to make myself helpful and show up each week with with something to offer, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like I made an impact there. And so my mentor teacher, the head of phys ed there, Mr. Pardasher. I work with him now. He remembered me, obviously. And that was my first ever placement. It was just once a week at the school.
Hmm.
I ended up moving on to other placements at other schools. And I feel like I did just as great of a job there. And I worked hard. I made connections. And I tried to make an impact wherever I went. Fast forward now, COVID hit. And then tons of people are like, I'm done with this. I'm
Hmm.
out, right? And people are retiring or people going on leave and stuff, and it's unfortunate. I don't wish that stress upon anybody, but it's all what gave me my job, right? Like
Hmm.
after years and years of people saying there's no jobs available,
Yeah.
suddenly like tons of jobs available during COVID, right?
Hmm.
And so I got my first like long term contract for a couple months because this teacher was actually on TikTok leave. He was busy. I call it TikTok leave. He got famous doing Amazon review products, and
Uh-huh.
he took a leave and so I
Hmm.
got his job doing the math and phys ed.
Hmm.
I moved to another school, Tommy Douglas, also for somebody on mat leave. Did a good job there. I feel like I was full phys ed, but still temporary. And then um, so that was my first full year of teaching, but just
Hmm.
on temporary contracts, right? Like 2 summers ago, when
Yeah.
after I finished my first year of teaching, there was a job that came up at Parkville,
Hmm.
and it was for a science position, and it was helpful that I had that qualification in the back pocket. And although it was just another temporary position, like for someone on mat leave, I was willing to take it and try something new. And I had interviewed for the position, and when I was there, the principal was like, "Hey, you kind of look familiar, right? Have
Hmm.
you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was at Markville before as a student teacher. I was with so and so,
Hmm.
and then that was that." And I interviewed, and I thought it went pretty okay, and I was nervous. And it turns out I learned later on that there were tons and tons of applicants, like 70, 80 applicants,
Hmm.
and then it was down to me and somebody else. And
Yeah.
when it came down to it, the principal just went back to the person I was with as a student teacher and just asked like, "Hey, like how was he when he was here?" And
Hmm.
they put in a fantastic reference for me,
Yeah.
and that was that, right? And
Hmm.
what I want to say is the the work I put in before and the
Right.
dividends paid out at that time. The stars aligned, but
Yeah.
I also it was the work that was put in before that
Hmm.
um I got to cash out on, right?
Right. That's a great story. It comes full circle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So switching gears a little bit, want to dive into your athletic career as an athlete. Kind of walk us through like how did you get started on Ultimate? What are some best memories you had? How did you get to where you are today?
Oh man. Uh Ultimate just has like a chokehold on my life now. I've been playing for 10 years. I started in grade 10, so that was I'm aging myself for the young viewers out there, but in 2013, and we were playing in tier two championships, and I was that bench warmer, the rookie,
Yeah.
and we like won the tier two championships in York region, which is super cool. It's a good
Hmm.
memory. And then I just fell in love with the sport then,
Yeah.
right? From then, I was pushed to try out for one of the rep teams, but then I ended up not joining because I just started the sport. I didn't really know like it was that serious. I was like, it's
Right.
not that deep. I
Yeah.
don't need to.
Yeah.
And it costed a lot of money and it's super
Uh-huh.
far away. So
Yeah.
I didn't join. I just kept playing at school and had a really good time playing at PETHS.
Hmm.
In university, I tried out for the team at York and I made it, and I had a really fun career there. Um, we didn't have any huge accomplishments, but it was really cool. I never thought I'd be playing a university sport, right?
Hmm.
And ultimate, I'll always recommend to the athletes, the student athletes out there, like give the sport a try. Like you might not make it in volleyball, like competing against those guys who've been playing since they're 2 years old, right? But
Hmm.
everyone starts the sport in high school, so you got a pretty good chance at making it at a high level.
Hmm.
Um, but that was that. Like I just played in university. I started playing men's circuit, in the Canadian national circuit with my men's team. It's kind of like our men's club team.
Hmm.
And I jumped around from a couple teams there. But where I like took the next big jump after university was during COVID as well. I sat down and I thought, what do I need to do to make the next level? Playing at
Hmm.
Canadian nationals, like what was the difference between us being like an eighth place team out of 16 versus the top teams? And the number one thing that stood out to me was they're just like way more athletic, right?
Hmm.
And so COVID hit at that time, and I said, okay, I'm going to work on that aspect of my game. I can be as skilled as I want, but if I don't take the next big jump athletically, I'm not going to be as, I can't play on that highest level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so during COVID, a friend and I, he plays basketball, but we play different sports. But one of my best friends, we started going out to the field, and it was like at Unionville High School and at Bill Crothers and David Hamilton Park, and we'd grab other friends and we'd do all this plyometric stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we learned we learned so much about fitness and learned so much about athletic training through that, and made the best, absolute best out of all the time we had during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and at that given point in time is one of the most fun things you could do during that time with like
Yeah.
you can only play so many video games and like
Yeah.
talk with friends on Discord, right?
Yeah.
But getting out there, working on ourselves, I feel like I improved my speed. I
Mm-hmm.
like moved so much better out there on the field. I improved my vertical, all that stuff that I never really had all that time for. And we did that stuff like every other day.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out, and when the pandemic was just on the tail end, the Toronto Rush announced, oh, we're back. We're having open tryouts. And I put my name in the hat and I tried out, and it was like at this point I've done everything in my power during COVID that I
Mm-hmm.
could to try
Right.
to reach this goal. Again, it's like the work you put in, and then when
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity comes up that there's openings for spots, and maybe people haven't been working on their fitness as well as much,
Mm-hmm.
I was available. I had stayed in shape, and I had
Right.
taken a jump, and then I had uh, I made the team, and it was
Yeah.
a really cool opportunity to play on a
Mm-hmm.
professional ultimate team for the
Mm-hmm.
past 2 years.
Nice. What are some standout moments in those past 2 years for you?
Nothing. It's really cool to travel to the States and play against teams like Boston and
Mm-hmm.
Washington and New York. Like those road trips on the team bus,
Mm-hmm.
unforgettable.
Right.
But nothing beats like playing on a home crowd with like hundreds of fans out in the stands
Mm-hmm.
and the national anthem and people and your friends and family up there and they're cheering for you, and it's like such a cool experience to play
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, in front of the home crowd, right? And
Yeah.
at the end of the game, going and saying hi to the fans, and
Yeah.
they're like, and even the little kids, they're like, "Can you sign my disc?"
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, I'm a freaking nobody. Like
Yeah.
I'm just a high school teacher from Markham, right? But this kid who's there with the disc, that's like
Yeah.
they think this is the coolest thing in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they're asking you to sign
Yeah.
something, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a really special
Yeah.
part of playing.
Mm-hmm. You touched on it briefly, the traveling aspect. I on your Instagram, you post a lot about, traveling to, places around the world. Kind of tell me like what are some of the best places around the world that you've traveled to and some of your best experiences?
The best so far, I did some teaching in Taiwan this summer,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a program with the school board that they they connect us with a private school in Taiwan, and we got to stay there for free. We got to fly there for free. We just had to teach English for 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and but we just taught, and then every
Yeah.
night we went out to eat and explore the night markets, and we went um we'll keep
Yeah.
it PG.
Yeah. Keep it busy. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was just so fun
Yeah.
to explore. It was so fun to
Mm-hmm.
explore. So Taiwan was an unforgettable experience. But trying to do a lot of hiking trips,
Yeah.
like Seattle was super special. Vancouver, I
Mm-hmm.
try to go to. So, but Taiwan this
Yeah.
past summer has a special place in my heart, man.
Mhm. Okay, well, we'll start wrapping up now. We're running out of time. Last few
Sure.
questions.
Okay, go.
In let's say 10 to 15 years, where do you see yourself? What are some things you want to accomplish?
10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I'd love to be a homeowner.
Hmm.
It's tough out here for
Yeah, yeah.
like anyone to start a job, and
Yeah.
the prices. I'd love to own a house,
Hmm.
but 10 to 15 years, I just want to. I don't have any big goals, I'll be honest, but I just want to continue to be a impactful and
Hmm.
relevant and caring teacher. and not to let that
Yeah.
slip away from me. Like the
Right.
zeal and and fulfillment that I have from
Mhm.
my job now,
Mhm.
I don't want to be that grumpy old guy 30 years from now. I want to still
Yeah.
be the way I am, right?
Right. Yeah. Don't change a
And
thing, man.
no,
Yeah.
I'm
Keep it
I'm
up.
trying not to, you better call me
Yeah.
out on that. If you
Okay.
see
I
me being
will.
like
Yeah.
that, a cranky old man, you
Yeah.
better call me out on that.
Okay. Yeah, I will. Okay. Last question. Is there anyone you want to see on this podcast? Let's nominate a few people for us.
Ooh, from Pet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one of my closest friends from high school. Her name's Ingrid. She's
And
from
good. Yeah.
oh yeah, you know
Yeah.
Ingrid. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
out in BC now,
We'll
and
get
she's
her
a
on here. Yeah.
physiotherapist out there. Got to
Hmm.
get her out here. And there's another guy, Wesley Ng. He's a
Wesley.
athletic
Okay.
therapist, and he just came back from Europe, and he's
Yeah.
been there for a year doing stuff with the teams out there. So those are
Perfect.
some cool people that I've
Those are some good
encountered
names.
along the way.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll wrap it up now. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you've been busy traveling this Christmas break. Wish you all the best of luck as you return to school. Um, yeah, thanks for being on here. We hope everyone learned a thing or two. Any final remarks?
No, and I just I, I'd hope that everyone listening to this goes out and like pursues what they enjoy and gets the same fulfillment from work
Hmm.
and that I do, right? Especially if
Hmm.
you're in high school and you're listening to this,
Hmm.
that you don't let uh, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm running out of time. I'm crumbling under the
Yeah,
pressure here. But yeah, like just do what you love.
yeah,
Corny
perfect.
and cliche.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next week.